All right, this is Woody Woodward. Thank you and welcome to Money Mastery Mastermind. Today is November 17th, 2015. We're so grateful to have our guest speaker today, who's Levi McPherson. He's a world-renowned social media expert. He's one of the top 3 on LinkedIn for gamification. I have personally worked with him for about 3 years now, and we've been business partners on a couple projects. So, Levi, welcome out to the party. Glad you could be here.
Thank you.
So today we're talking about money mastery and the acronym of money. MONEY. M is for mindset, O is for opportunity, N is for networking, E is for entrepreneurship, and Y is for being yourself. So today we're focusing on E, entrepreneurship. I like to refer to this as the business behind the business. What things are you doing that make the biggest impact? So we're having Levi on, and he'll speak here in about 10 minutes about social media. What is that business behind the business for social media? How do you get your message, your name, your image out there in the marketplace to get more business? But where I first learned about the business behind the business, and for those of you who know my story, it's the time that my wife and I first went broke, and we were completely destitute, living in my parents' basement, and she started processing mortgage loans, and she would make about $350 a file while I was handing out the paychecks to the brokers who were making anywhere from 5 to 10,000 a file. And after a while, I turned to my sweetheart and I said, "Babe, how come they're making so much money, yet you're doing all the work, you're ordering the title, you're ordering the credit reports, and you've done all the appraisals, everything, and you're only making 350 a file?" And she said, "Because they're the broker, they make the bulk of the money." That's when I realized the business behind the business. Yeah, she can make a couple grand a month processing loans, or she can make 10, 30, 40, 50,000 a month if we were mortgage brokers. So that day I went down to City Hall, signed up as a mortgage broker. Our first month we did 7,000, then 15,000. We then grew it across the Western United States. We were in 7 states doing over $30 million a year in transactions. So when you understand the business behind the business, you end up creating enormous wealth. When Michael Jackson had just come off the success from Off the Wall, Paul McCartney from the Beatles called him up and said, "You know what, we should do a song together." So he flew to Europe, met with Paul, and they did the song called Say, 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 which went to #1. Over dinner, Paul sits a black binder in front of Michael and says, "Hey, take a look at this." He's flipping through it. He sees all these songs that he recognizes and Buddy Holly and different things. And Michael says, "What is this?" And Paul said, "This is the songs that I own." He said, "What do you mean you own these songs? Buddy Holly wrote this song." He goes, "Yeah, but I own the publishing rights. So I collect royalties every time that song is played." Instantly, Michael realized this was the business behind the music business. And jokingly, he told Paul McCartney, "One day I'll buy the Beatles." And Paul laughed it off. Well, 3 years later, Michael Jackson bought what was called ATV, owned the publishing rights to the Beatles' first 250 songs, and Michael bought it for $45 million. Today, ATV and Sony merged, and they own 2 million songs. They own everything from Taylor Swift to Eminem to the Beatles. They generate $2 billion a year in revenue. Michael's great, 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 great grandchildren never need to work because of that. I call it legacy money. It makes so much money that generations will benefit from that investment. So that's what we're talking about today. What is the business behind the business for you to make the most amount of money you want to make? So Levi, welcome. I want you to take the reins now. Tell us the business behind the business for social media.
Okay, great. Can you hear me all right now?
Nope, it's still very soft.
Okay, I'll talk as loud as I can. So on the topic of the business behind the business, a lot of you have heard me talk about branding before and how you need to be known for something. And it's easier today to build your personal brand than it has ever been in history. And the reason for this is the tools that we have available to us. So a lot of people look at individuals like, like Madonna or Michael Jackson, you just mentioned, and they rose to stardom. Their identity, it's worth, it's worth money, and they built their stardom the traditional way. I mean, it required a whole team of promoters. It required a lot of money invested in publicity. But today, it's infinitely easier because we have tools like social media, tools like LinkedIn or YouTube. I don't know if anyone out there's got daughters, but I remember a few years back, my wife going to the Red Box and renting that Justin Bieber movie. And at first I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to be ridiculously painful. But the reality is I loved every minute of it because it was the old social media story. The reason why Justin Bieber, even though you may hate him now, when he rose to stardom, the reason why he was able to do that was because of the social media tools that he used. And so the thing that I want to discuss today for everyone is, which tools are you using, and are you using them effectively? And so the starting place for that is, first of all, do you know your brand? What are you known for? And what you're known for has to be something that creates value for others. So on this call, obviously brand is helping others to succeed financially. It's helping them in real estate. It's helping them with entrepreneurship. But still, you have to stand out as an individual that knows something special. And so I just kind of wanted to go down the road on each of these tools that we all have access to, and kind of discuss which ones are the most effective for what you're trying to accomplish. So, so the first one that I would take a look at is LinkedIn. So Woody, on this process, typing in what we're doing that's effective, or kind of tell me how this works.
So the way it works is I'm going to have you give some instructions to begin with, and then I will ask the audience for questions for you. Then they'll text me the question. I'll ask you the question. So go ahead and give some instruction like you're doing right now on LinkedIn and other resources, and then take about 10 minutes. Then we'll go to the audience and ask them what questions, and we'll mastermind the best solutions.
Perfect. Okay, so let's jump to LinkedIn first. So the beauty of LinkedIn is that you have access to everyone on a professional level. When I talk about knowing your brand and knowing what you stand for, the beauty of LinkedIn is also you can tell everybody exactly what you're all about. Several of you have heard me train or see me train on LinkedIn. A couple little simple things that you want to know about. Before you build out or rebrand your profile, do a little bit of keyword search. In other words, what are you looking for? YouTube, it applies to Twitter, it applies to Google. So
Levi,
yeah,
you're cutting out. Yeah. Can you use a headset or something? Is there anything you can do? Is there a spot in your home that has better reception? Do we lose you? We might have lost Levi on that. I am not sure. We'll wait for him to come back on. So what Levi is really talking about is LinkedIn, on how to create the perception and how to position yourself as an expert. A lot of mistakes that people make on social media is, and you've seen on Facebook, they'll have a advertisement of one business and they'll have another advertisement of another business. You need to be able to have a consistent profile. If you go on to someone's LinkedIn page or you go on to any social media, you should instantly know what they do. So if you're in Renatus and you're using Renatus on your social media sites like LinkedIn and Facebook, then by all means they should know everything about Facebook with Renatus and so forth, so that you're not being second guessed of, oh, what do they really do? I see this tire company he works for, but I see him working at Renatus. He sells real estate and tires. I don't understand. So when it comes to social media, it's really making sure that they have the same, it's just continuity straight across the board. If you went into McDonald's one day and they sold pizza, it would be very confusing. People would be really confused. Wait a minute, I'm here for my Big Mac, and why am I getting a pizza? So make sure that your brand is consistent all the way through. So he's coming right back on right now, and we'll get him on the call, and we'll have him keep talking here. So it's just like any marketing that you do, it's consistency. So think of like a billboard. You're a walking billboard. Every single thing you do is to understand and be consistent in that it advertises all the way across the board. Levi, you there?
Okay, can you hear me? Can
Yep,
you hear
go
me?
right ahead. Pick it up from there.
All right. Am I louder now?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. All right. So yes, basically, just like Woody was saying, um, it needs to be consistent across every tool. Um, and the keywords that you'll use, let's just say your keyword, um, it was something like a leading real estate investor or millionaire maker or something of that nature. So if people are looking for, how to make money, then you actually build those keywords into your profile. So it's on LinkedIn specifically we're talking about. So both into your title. Your title is actually not the job that you hold, but your title is what you do. So if you are a real estate investor, you put that. You don't work, even though some of you may have other jobs that you're working, that does not go in that title slot. Your description, even though I've told many of you that your description, that's where your offer goes. That's where you tell your story and your true value proposition. You also build those keywords into that description because it will optimize your profile to come up so that, again, you're telling people multiple ways what your brand is. You look back through your work history, your job titles on your work history, if they have anything to do with your brand as a real estate investor or as an entrepreneur or a millionaire maker or whatever it is, an author, a speaker, a coach, a leader, you build that into those titles and into those descriptions. The more ways that you tell Google or LinkedIn what you are, the more relevant you are. And so it will actually come up in people's searches. The same thing applies to how people see you. So to give it just kind of an interesting example, during the last presidential election, I got really political, and I was doing mostly people that really know me know I like intellectual conversations, and so I was just doing it for intellectual stimulus more than anything. It was just exciting for me to get people riled up. That sounds kind of bad, but one day I was walking down the mall and going to see one of my friends that was a store owner there, and I ran into another buddy that's built one of the largest companies here in Utah that I hadn't seen for quite a while. And I started talking to him, and shortly into the conversation, he says, "Man, you are political." And immediately it dawned on me that I had started creating a new brand. And it was a brand that I didn't want to build. I didn't want to be known as that guy that gets in all the political debates, because what value does that brand do for others? How does that build value? And if that brand doesn't build value for others, it won't actually build money for me. And so I quickly changed my social strategy. So a lot of you who are on Facebook, we haven't mentioned that yet, but a lot of you think, oh, my Facebook is just for my personal stuff. Well, it's accessible to the world. Therefore, you brand build there as well, if that makes sense. So bottom line there, know what your brand is, use some keyword research to get you there, and then make sure you're consistent across all platforms, and you tell the world in as many ways as possible, or in as many places as possible, the exact same message. So if you have a YouTube channel, a lot of people upload videos on YouTube, and there are various different things. And I'm not saying that it's not okay to have a truly social environment where you can post pictures of your kids and your family and things like that. But you need to have a branded page, a branded site. So for YouTube channel, make sure if you build out a YouTube channel that everything on that channel is about the same thing. It's how to do something, and it's all about creating value for those that you're trying to serve, because you're trying to build an audience, if that makes sense.
Makes complete sense. One of the things you said that I loved was, if you're not creating value for others, you're not creating money for yourself. And I agree with you. So often on Facebook and social media, people mix the two. And I know that we like to use social media for everything, and it's not. You got to look at it as different channels. So you wouldn't take your kids to your work and let them hang out in your office all day. Just like social media, you shouldn't put all your kids' pictures on your business profile. Have them separate. And the way you can separate them, that I've seen people do that I think is very effective, is add your middle initial if you want for your personal account. So you can share it with your friends and family. Or have a different name for your friends and family. Maybe a nickname that you go by. But your business account should be consistent across the board. If I look on Facebook, if I look on YouTube, or I looked on LinkedIn, I should see the same logos, the same names, the same everything. What's your opinion about that, Levi?
I totally agree with you there, Woody. Um, and especially sites like LinkedIn. I mean, the biggest faux pas you could do is take a picture of you with your cat as your profile picture. I mean, it's just wrong. But yeah, you're right. If you have the exact same profile picture on all of your accounts, same logos, it's telling the world, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and I'm a legitimate entrepreneur.
And that's a real problem because in Renatus, a lot of you guys have a normal job, which is absolutely fine. But if I go to a Renatus meeting and you're going to pitch me on $20,000 and I go and I Google your name and I see that you're working at such and such company and I see your family and the vacations and I see your lifestyle, then I think, maybe they're not a real player. Maybe I don't want to do business with them. So remember, social media is nothing more than a billboard. Position that billboard the best possible way you can. Take off all the things that are personal, make it about business, and you can add a little bit of flavor, you can add a little bit of your own identity to it, but you got to realize if somebody else were to see this, would they want to do business with me? That's the key.
Dead on. One critical principle that I think kind of encapsulates things. I often give the definition of marketing as managing perceptions. It truly is nothing more than managing perceptions. So what that means for you is it doesn't matter that you currently work at a job, or it doesn't matter that it doesn't matter what you've done. It matters what you tell to the world. What is your story? And so this is why I come down on people sometimes with their LinkedIn profiles. They're like, well, I want to be, quote unquote, I want to be honest and tell people that I'm working at another job. No, you actually don't have to put that job even on your LinkedIn profile. I have at least a half a dozen ventures that I have personally been involved in that are not on my LinkedIn profile. And the only reason why they're not on my LinkedIn profile is because they don't support the current brand that I'm building.
That's a great point. A great question came in. How do you separate? Is there anything else you want to talk about, Levi, or do you want to go into the question and answers now?
Let's jump into Q&A.
Okay. So for those of you who are playing at home, go ahead and text in to my cell number at 951-973-3408. That is 951-973-3408. As I get those questions coming in, I will then read those off and we'll have Levi Mastermind with us and answer them back and forth. So first one that came in, how do you separate the personal and professional, especially if you've been building it for years? So let's say I've been building this account for years. How do I go ahead and change it, or how do I change the perception of it?
Okay, so some accounts this is easier, and some it's not so easy. So for Facebook, this is really simple. You just create an official personality profile page. For Twitter, it's the same thing. You can actually create a personal professional page. For LinkedIn, hopefully you haven't been creating a social-based profile page on LinkedIn, but if you need to separate them, oftentimes the easiest way is just to create a new profile page or a fan page that's specifically for your brand.
What about, and this is something I'm very big on, if you go to meetwoody.com or if you go to Woody on LinkedIn, I'm big on testimonials. So third-party proof. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about the 6 principles of persuasion, and one of them is social proof. So how does somebody go ahead and get testimonials? What's the best way, in your experience, for them to get testimonials?
Just ask. I mean, actually two things. One, ask, but the second thing, this is the easy, if you really want to get testimonials from people, pre-write 6 templates, examples of what testimonials might look like, Send them to people you already know have high opinions of you. Show them the samples and say, hey, would you be willing to give me a testimonial? Here's some samples of what others are writing, and that way they can see, they can borrow from basically what you've written. I've even written some for people that I knew were very busy and said, all right, this is from my conversations with you. This is what I believe you said to me about your opinion about my my business. So I've written some samples. You can either accept one of those. They're unique. I've written them. You can put your name on it, or write one that's new of your own.
So this is a very important technique, and for those of you who are listening, you might think, oh, that's strange. I can't ask people to use one of the testimonials I've written for them. Let me tell you, in the professional space, that happens all the time. Years ago, probably 10 years ago, I was meeting with the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, and he was teaching us how to get testimonials for our books. So at that point, I'd only written 3 books, and I needed testimonials. And he said, Woody, write the testimonials for them, send it to the biggest thought leaders in the industry, and see if they will approve it. And honestly, they were approving them left and right so that they did not have to actually write them. When I became an author and I became known as an author, people would always ask me for a testimonial, and I would ask them, send me the testimonial you want me to write, and I'll approve it. And they were blown away, but they loved doing it because then they got the exact testimonial. Now, of course, it has to be real and it has to be authentic, but if someone gives it to you, then it's no problem. So one thing I did on my LinkedIn page is I went out and started giving testimonials, like Levi was saying, to all my top people. Well, there's a button on there to ask for one from them. So if they give you one, you will get one from them as well. So it goes back and forth in a perfect synergistic way. So fantastic. Another one here, Levi. I publish a post on LinkedIn. How do I get more people to respond?
So that one's a little bit of a tricky one. So if you're publishing a post, first of all, you need to make sure that you know who your audience is that you're publishing it for. If you know who you're publishing it for, then kind of similar to the strategy that we just mentioned, reach out to the people that are drinking the same Kool-Aid you're drinking. Start a collaboration with them. Basically, like their articles, reach out to them directly and say, hey, I just read your article. I really loved it, especially these points, 1, 2, and 3. I've written an article that's similar. Would you be willing to give me some feedback and maybe even reshare it on your wall? And that actually gets a synergy going between you and those who already have influence.
Yeah, I gotta second that one again. I've done the same thing countless times with other authors where we'll share each other's webinars, we'll share each other's testimonials, we'll share each other's articles. People, it's a law of reciprocity again, guys. If you will create value for other people first, recommend their articles to other people, they will then start to recommend yours. Here's another one. I'm a home health and registered nurse who's also a real estate investor. How do I brand myself?
Oh, this is a tough one. So some of you have heard me tell a story about my 3 uncles. I have 3 uncles that are artists. 2 of them are world famous. One of them, you can't find him in a Google search. And the only difference between the 3 has nothing to do with talent. It has to do that they picked one targeted brand. The one artist who is a famous wildlife artist, his paintings are sold everywhere. He has the record for the most covers of Outdoor Life magazine. He once told me, because I actually tried to get him involved in a business venture that was not art, had nothing to do with wildlife. He once told me, if you chase 2 rabbits into the woods, you will lose them both. Pick one and go get it.
So for example, the registered home nurse, he or she's making their probably income every month from that, but they really want to be a real estate investor. You wouldn't recommend obviously giving up their job, but what I think I hear you saying is if you want to be the real estate investor, position yourself online as the real estate investor because you already have the job as the nurse. You're probably not getting any new business from the nursing thing online, but you will from Renatus Online.
You get to brand yourself. It's easier for people to retain a singular brand in their mind than it is multiple brands. And so if you want to build the Renatus brand or a real estate investor brand, that's what you build your social profiles around. If you have a job, that's fine. Now, one other thing, one other strategy that you can do, if the registered nurse thing is a business, you can build out a separate brand that's a business entity and not a personality brand profile entity, if that makes sense.
Go into that deeper. I know what you're talking about, but for those who aren't familiar with that, talk about how to create two different accounts.
Okay, pretty simply, a couple of examples in the real world that you'll be familiar with. When Toyota wanted to tap into the luxury brand market, they created Lexus. When Black & Decker wanted to tap into the contractor market, because no general contractor will touch a Black & Decker tool, they created a brand called DeWalt. Now, there's no face attached to DeWalt or Black & Decker. It's not a personality brand. It's a product brand. You know, Procter & Gamble's famous for this. Procter & Gamble doesn't put their brand in big bold letters on every single product. They do individually branded products, and sometimes even competitive products for very specific marketing reasons.
You see that a lot even with GE. General Electric also owns NBC and radio stations and pretty much everything. Spacecraft. I mean, GE owns so much. For fun, just Google what does GE own, and you'll notice that they own industries, not just companies. They actually own industries, and they've differentiated themselves each time. So if you are going to be the nurse and a real estate investor, create two LinkedIn profiles, change your pictures on them, and then market to the people you want based off of that.
Yes, and I would also say on that, I would keep your personality clean. Meaning, if you are the real estate guru or the team building guru or whatever it is, make sure that's the one that's attached to your personality. But if you have a business that's you know, nursing, or you know, maybe you still own a landscaping company or something, on that, build it out as a brand. As a company brand that doesn't have a face to it. It has an offer, it has services, it has everything else, but it's very generic, meaning you don't know the face behind it.
Gotcha. So using a personal example, so I've got the Woody Woodward LinkedIn, but then I could also have a Money Mastery LinkedIn as well. And Money Mastery would not have my picture or my name. It would just be a business online.
Exactly. So for example, for Money Mastery, if you were doing the visual branding for Money Mastery and you didn't want it to be specifically Money Mastery equals Woody Woodward, you would actually put pictures of all the different celebrities or mastermind individuals that are involved with Money Mastery, so that it's branded to either your audience or to the authorities that are involved. So all of your stories that come out on a daily basis, you can put those pictures out there, and then it becomes more of an entrepreneurship brand instead of a Woody Woodward brand.
Perfect. Great example. Another question. This is talking about how you separate them. Do I contact my family and friends and let them know that I'm separating it, or do I just clean it up?
Just start cleaning it up.
Perfect. Here's another question. I'm a full-time investor, but new to the business. How do I build credibility on a LinkedIn profile?
So I'm going to tell a Muhammad Ali story. So Muhammad Ali was once interviewed, I believe it was on a television show. He was asked by the interviewer, how did you become the greatest fighter in the world, or the greatest of all time? And Muhammad Ali just laughed. He said, you know, you got to be kidding me. I don't know how, you know, nobody can truly claim to be the greatest in the world, but here's what I did. He said, I was a young fighter and nobody really knew me, and so I just started telling people. I just started saying I'm the greatest fighter in the world, and it got me attention, and people either loved me or hated me, but it's because I said it over and over and over. So to gain credibility, the first step is you actually have to come up with a catchphrase or something that's memorable, and just start putting it everywhere. That will give you your initial credibility. The next tier of credibility, you can borrow credibility by by using individuals that everyone already knows about and put their quotes next to yours. Tell their story, then tell a personal experience for you. Or collaborate with others in the field that already have brand recognition. And it will position you on the same plane as them. And it happens very quickly, actually.
That's actually one of my favorite techniques. So I want to go through this again because borrowing credibility is the fastest way to look important. It just is. So on your LinkedIn profile, go onto YouTube and find quotes or videos from world famous investors and put their videos on your either YouTube channel, your LinkedIn page, or your Facebook page. When people see it, say a Donald Trump, because everyone knows who he is, a Donald Trump talking about real estate investing, and they see your name, subconsciously they actually link those two together. You may never have met Donald, he may never know your name, but if you keep putting on your page things that other successful individuals are doing, mentally they tie you to them. That's why on all of my websites I have tons of testimonials from incredible people, from Jack Canfield to Les Brown to a dear friend of mine who created Pretty Woman and Under Siege. Using and borrowing their credibility makes you look like a rock star. So Levi, thank you for addressing that one.
So real quick on that, Woody, there's also one more principle that I didn't explain earlier, and that's the consistency of your posting. So one thing that you can do as well, post images of those quotes, because they'll actually come up higher in the algorithms. But you on LinkedIn, for example, you need to be posting daily, and if not multiple times. And I have strategies that I personally use to automate some of that process, because it's pretty late. You don't want to spend all day on social media, but what you're doing is you actually create what's called TOMA, or top of mind awareness. So every time one of my posts goes out, if it's consistent with my brand, it sends a signal once again to everyone that this is what Levi is about, and he is in the know about this thing. So another way to do credibility is not just the quotes, but let's just say you find an article about it and you post it. You start posting articles about this, that topic on a daily basis. Information is the fastest way for people to think you're an authority.
So yes, go to Forbes, go to Realtor.com, get stories from those sources and put them on. I know the answer to this question, but I want to ask it because I think it's important. Other people might be thinking the same thing. Is it possible to be credible in multiple fields, such as business management, consultant, real estate investor, and serial entrepreneur?
The easy answer is technically yes, but the people that have done it are anomalies. It's rare, and the reality is, just kind of like those strengths tests or those personality profile tests.
Yeah.
You're still always going to have a dominant one. Even though Michael Jordan, he may have invested in some businesses and have some success there, he's still always going to be known as the greatest basketball player of all time. You're always going to have a dominant.
Yep. And my simple answer would be no, you can't. I always like to take the anomalies out of the equation because they are anomalies, but you can't be known for 6 different things. Not effectively, at least.
Not effectively. That's true.
I've got a very long question here. Give me a second to go through this.
Okay.
Okay, so here it goes. I have a goal to empower 1 million people to be true to their dreams. I want to start doing this through coaching, mentoring, quotes, videos. However, Renatus has an amazing platform to build this brand. Can something like this synergize to one brand, or should it be 2? I'm actually going to answer that one if I could, Levi. Being in the speaker author world and trying to influence tens of thousands, if not millions of people, you really can't do them simultaneously. Either you are a speaker, author, thought leader, or you are a real estate investor, and you need to separate those two. I have found that the more money you have, the more resources you have to go out and influence the world through book publishing, videos, and movies. So I would promote your Renatus brand. I would create as much revenue as possible through Renatus. that will give you the money it takes to do infomercials and movies and books. I've done all of the above, and it literally has cost millions of dollars. We've spent over $2 million on building our platform in the last 10 years. So I would really be pushing the Renatus brand to create the revenue for you so that you can then have the resources to create the other brand. Anything you want to add on that one?
Just one thing I would add on there. So if you weren't at the regional conference, we talked about the difference between your what your personal brand is and what the company brand is. So you're dead on that. The Renatus brand has, it's a phenomenal platform, and it is a tool that you will use. But you're still building your personal brand, and you can still help people through that tool and through that message. But you still need to be able to promote your own brand, because two people can offer the exact same thing, and even in a close time proximity, and we will choose to follow one person's advice and completely ignore another person's based on brand credibility. So I applaud you for putting a goal out there to truly create value for people. And what I believe that Woody's saying is, you have the tool, you've got the medium or the vehicle. Now how do you leverage that and intertwine that into your personal brand? Well, it's pretty simple. You promote that brand, or you promote the outcome of it. In other words, you promote the benefits. You promote it may be the lifestyle, it may be the outcome of financial freedom or whatever that is. But you can, I guess the main point that I want to get across, don't put off creating your messaging on social media until you've made it. You technically need to start now. You start now by documenting your experience. I mean, there are people that have created entire brands out of just documenting their experience on YouTube, and now they're celebrities, and all they did is follow themselves around with cameras. We live in a society where we want access to people. We want authenticity. We want transparency. And so if you really want to help people, inspire people by doing what what you wish they could do, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you recommend being an open network on LinkedIn where anyone that requests a link is automatically approved?
I personally do not, and let me explain why. Those that are Lions, LinkedIn Open Networks, networkers, they'll accept everyone. But why? You have to ask yourself the question why. What is your purpose for connecting with people online on LinkedIn? Your list building. And anyone that hasn't done that or is unfamiliar with the term, list building, you create a tool or a platform where you're gathering email addresses so that you can follow up and drip on them. You can basically send them additional messaging and promotionals. So if you're a LinkedIn Open Networker and you start accepting your family members and people that have nothing to do with, they're not your target audience, then what's going to happen is you're going to spend a lot of time trying to clean up your list every time you create campaigns. So what I do, I'm very, very picky on who I accept into my LinkedIn, because then I export that list and then I target very specifically people when I do email campaigns, and I've been able to turn those email campaigns into money. If it's just a huge mess, a blast of everything, then what's going to happen is you're going to blast a campaign out to people, and then you're going to get flagged for spam.
Gotcha. Tell the story about how on LinkedIn you met with the CEO within, like, was it 72 hours or something?
So on LinkedIn, a lot of people don't realize it's the it's the ultimate sniper approach, because you can go right past the gatekeeper. I have been able to reach out to people who are in charge of billions, not millions, billions of dollars, and get a response within 12 hours and actually be in their office within 72 hours. Sitting in their office without even saying hello to a gatekeeper. So don't underestimate the power of LinkedIn. And let me explain. The only reason why I was able to do that is because, number one, I had tailor-made my brand profile on LinkedIn so that when I sent an invitation to connect, he looked at that and said, ah, this is somebody that I want to meet with. And at the time, my brand very specifically was around gamification. I knew that this gentleman was investing in tech that would benefit by gamification, and my messaging that I reached out to was very, very specific, and so it worked. So don't ever underestimate what you can do with LinkedIn.
Beautiful. Somebody wants clarification on the example of personal and business one, so I'll go ahead and answer this one really quick. It's what you talked about earlier about, the Woody Woodward brand and the Money Mastery brand. So if you have a landscape business or you have a window cleaning business, you would actually make that business a LinkedIn page or a Facebook page with your address, your phone number, so people could call you to do business with you. If you want to be promoting Renatus, you would put that under your name. That way there's an identity tied to the actual business of Renatus. So you wouldn't have a Renatus business LinkedIn page, you would have a Woody Woodward does real estate investing LinkedIn page. Just want to clarify that real quick.
I would add one point to that, Woody. So just look at the difference between the taglines, right? So your personality brand, real estate investor. Your brand or your company tagline, let's say it was landscaping. It's going to be, creating beauty at home or something like that, right? It has nothing to do with you as a person. The company brand only has to do with what the brand provides, the transformational value that company is going to provide to the client. So your face doesn't show up on it. The outcome does. The picture of the beautiful landscaping and the tagline and the videos are all about what it provides.
Perfect. Well said. I only have space for about one or two more questions. Go ahead and text those in. Here's another real simple, quick question. Where and who do you get to assist you with your branding? Now, I know that's a very open-ended question, and what's your opinion on that?
So where, what, who, when I personally wanted to change directions on my career, for those that know me, I'm a book fanatic. There are a lot of good books out there. I don't even listen to the radio. I listen to books. So I would say books, YouTube channels, and then ultimately, if you've got a little bit to invest, find someone that truly knows what they're doing. And maybe at first, just take them to lunch. See if you can get, take them to lunch, pick their brain a little bit. If you like what you hear, offer to hire them.
Well said. All right, we're going to close it out here. There's one thing I want to share with everyone as a little fun surprise. I reached out to the FAB members and I asked them what are their business behind their business practices. So I want to pull this up online. You guys can take a look at this. I'll still read these off for you so you can see them. Levi, thank you so very much for being on the call. Thank you for the value you created for everyone. You're fantastic. We appreciate you. If people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach out to you? Is it on LinkedIn, or how would you like them to contact you?
LinkedIn is the very best.
Perfect. So type in Levi McPherson on LinkedIn. All right, so here is the entrepreneurship, the business behind the Renatus business. Hugh Zareski said, stay consistent under harsh conditions. No matter what is happening in your personal, relationship, or business, stay consistent. Richard Stock said you need to listen. Listen to what a prospect is really saying, know the Renatus story, understand the product. John Ferguson said, create massive value up front. Spend time individually with each prospect and have 3 personal touches before you send them a text or an email. I actually like this with John, where so many times we want to automate everything. We want to send them an email and a text, and we want to just not have to physically talk to them. We want to automate them. If you want to really create value, talk to them. He'll make 3 phone calls before he sends a text or an email. Scott Rose said the culture is everything. The culture I've created is based off the student's impression. That impression is a natural human reaction that can then be conveyed subconsciously to their candidates. So he's so big on creating culture that people will literally die for their message. They don't fake it to make it. They are sincerely willing to go all out to build a culture, to build his business. Rodlett said, we do a top 10 of the week, and so we inspire others to pick up their game and take it to the next level. He also helps the IMAs know what the next step is to their next advancement. So once again, guys, thank you so much for being part of the call. Look forward to having you out more. We are going to end this recording. I will send it out to you. You should have it in a couple hours. Thanks so much. Have a great day.